I like Bad Santa.
Bad Santa's dope.
Yeah. The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, but like the old one, like you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Yeah. The new one's cool. The Jim Carrey one's cool, but if I had my choice of the three, I'm picking the old one. I really like Die Hard, of course. I'm not into like a Christmas story and shit.
I'm sure you can like, clap so we can.
Yeah.
Just want to make a. There we are. Cool.
Christmas Story. That's the old black and white one, right?
Nah, I think that's
that's a Wonderful Life. Yeah.
Wonderful Life. Yeah, Christmas Story is the one with the old boy that licks the pole and shit.
Yeah, gets his eye shot out.
Yeah. Shoots out his eye. They're like, you can't have a baby, can you shoot your eye out? And he shoots his eye out.
Yeah. That's the one that they'd always play like
all day.
There's like 12 or 14 of those every single day. They don't. They still do that?
Yeah, they still do it. It's like
that's got to be the cheapest way to syndicate ever.
It's always on, like the whole day of Christmas is like fucking A Christmas Story. I was like, all right, bro.
Man, this fucking old claymation thing scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Like the raisins and shit?
Yeah, or like the Rudolph and...
Rudolph, oh man, yeah, I don't really fuck with the Rudolph movie.
Oh, that's like old school. That's like the 40s or something.
Yeah, right. Like the claymation.
I don't know if
like
it's
so
the 40s, but it's probably like 60s or 70s.
Yeah, I'm gonna get 60s.
I don't know, but
I guess it's color.
Yeah, it's color for sure. I don't think it's 40s, but also I always thought those raisins were kind of racist. I thought they were racist raisins.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. What was the? Oh, okay, the California raisins.
Yeah, the California raisins.
But I mean, should they have been?
They're like jazz blacks. You know what I mean?
Sure. I see that now. Thanks for enlightening me.
Hey, man, I just ruined raisins for you. That's crazy. But, yeah, we're just gonna be, like, watching Christmas movies and, like, doing Christmas decorations most of the week. I was having a conversation with my daughter. I was like, how do you feel about Santa Claus? And she said, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, what? You don't want to talk about it? What does this mean? She's like, I don't want to talk about it. So then... we don't
talk about politics around Christmas.
Heavy. She didn't say that, but she did say she didn't want to talk about it. And so, like...
Why do you think she... Real quick, why do you think
I'm getting to that.
All right.
So, we went about the day playing as we normally would. And then she came back to me. She was like, I like the little Santa, but I don't like the big Santa. And what that means is, like, my in-laws have, like, this little Santa that, like, dances, singing Jingle Bell Rock. She likes him. She calls him Baby Santa. But the idea of Big Santa, she said, is scary. She said, Big Santa is scary. I was like, why is it scary? She said, he's watching me. I was like...
Man, I don't blame her.
Snap.
The idea of Santa is a little freaky.
Damn, she must not like Sting either.
Dude. No, but she said that I was like taken aback. I was like, man, you know what? I feel you, bro. Yeah, I'm not super comfortable with Santa either. So she was like, do I still get presents if I don't like Santa? I was like, yeah, man, for sure. They're coming from me and your mom. She was like, okay, cool.
No, we don't. Yeah.
Yeah, that my ultimate takeaway was like, oh snap! What is the myth of Santa? What are we teaching people that, like, somebody somewhere is like watching them to make sure that they're doing the right thing? And then I thought about like Elf on a Shelf and how it's just kind of built around the idea of being under surveillance, and you know what is the message that's really being like gleaned from that shit. My daughter said like Santa's scary because he's always watching me, and I thought about that song Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and there's a part in the song where it says be good for goodness sake. And are people being good for goodness sake, or are they being good because they feel as though they're being watched?
Isn't the previous line saying like he knows if you're bad or good, but be good for goodness sake?
Yes.
So it's like part of that. I mean, don't you think that might be part of like capital? You know, if like you do good, you get something, but if you don't, you deserve coal. Like it's a weird...
like this is like my ultimate like issue with like the whole Santa thing. But I'll take it a step further. It's kind of like my issue with people's ideal of like what God is. I think Santa Claus is like God for children. So you're being promised an eternal reward with God, and you're being promised a yearly reward with children, because children don't think in terms of eternity.
Annual, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I think that if you're gonna spread the Santa myth, perhaps we're missing something if we're spreading the idea that this guy somewhere is watching you to make sure that you were good all year. Because who is? I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, right. You should see the fucking Eastern European
that reminds
Santa.
me a lot
It's
of
terrifying. Krampus.
Yeah? What makes him so terrifying?
Well, I think historically it's pretty racist, but also like.
Are you talking about Black Peter?
Black
Peter is very racist.
Super racist. But also the idea of Krampus, like how he's supposed to be like super fucking like a black horror.
Yeah.
Type of like.
He's a demon who pops up and like fucks your shit up. If
Yeah,
you're bad.
if you have bad kids, like he comes and like apparently like takes them in a sack. And, it's pretty dark. It's kind of like Grimm's brother-esque, like scary.
Real thing. Krampus.
Yeah, I mean, the way you talk about Christmas, it reminds me of what we discussed about Jehovah's Witnesses and some of the stuff where people are feeling like that there's like depression, suicide, like certain things like that because they're not suicide, but they're worried that they're never gonna make it into heaven because of some shit they did when they were like 14 or something.
Well, Jehovah's Witnesses don't necessarily believe that everybody goes to heaven. They do believe that 144,000 people go to heaven. And
really?
Yeah, like literally that's the number. And that everybody else has the hope of being like resurrected and living forever on like a paradise earth.
When Jesus comes back.
Right. So the idea is if you do the right things, that even if you die, you'll come back. And then you'll live during this period of time where, like, Satan and God are going to war with each other. And then after that war is over, you get to live in a paradise earth. And you're immortal. That's the thought.
So you'd be raised from the dead during this war, or is it the second part of tribulation? This is the second part of tribulation.
You'd be raised from the dead before the war starts, or as the war is starting. And then you're like there during the war, and then you get to live forever.
That's some like odd slavery kind of like, here, you fight for these people,
it's
you're free.
It's very much so slavery.
You're free if you fight for us.
But I would also say it's kind of like a real estate thing. So like,
I see.
You know how with the Catholic Church they have diplomatic immunity. They exist in this place that's not quite a country, but it is separate from the laws of everyone other than their own. Jehovah's Witnesses, I wouldn't say have like diplomatic immunity in that way, but they don't pay taxes, and they buy properties, and they don't pay taxes on them shits, and everybody like tithes and like pays into these things and pays the bills for these buildings. But somebody in New York owns all of the property. And it's considered like a privilege for people to be able to like go and work in New York at like one of the printing facilities where you're just like printing up the literature that people pass out on Saturday mornings. And that's basically slave labor.
I was gonna ask. So
they don't really pay you, but they like pay for you to have like a room and stuff and live and work there, and you eat in a cafeteria and shit like that. But you don't get a paycheck really that allows you to do anything. It's just very much so.
It has like a 60-year internship.
Kind of. Yeah. It's kind of like a big ass internship printing.
How much of this do you share with your daughter, in terms of some of the if you want to
I don't share any of it with her yet because I feel like I don't want to taint her view of religion just because my view is tainted. I think that me doing that would be selfish. I think that if she asks me, I will tell her the truth. But if she also says, I want to go to church or I want to go to religious services, regardless of what the religion is, I will take her because that's what she wants. I don't think that it is my place to force my views on her, particularly my views in politics or religion. I don't think that it is caring or loving of me to do so. I do believe that it is my job as her father to guide her in a way that is thoughtful and loving. And in my opinion, the most thoughtful and loving things that I can do are be considerate of her feelings, allow her to experiment, and set her expectations. So if she were to go to church and come to me afterwards and say, man, is that really what's up? Is it like there's a bunch of saints and like I'm supposed to pray to them, or like I gotta confess to this guy, or I go to hell? I might say, that's not something I believe in, but the thought process is that you have to pay a certain amount of penance for the wrong things that you do. So take from that what you will. There's a religious structure that some people have put into place, and they believe that it comes from a certain source. I don't necessarily believe that, but that doesn't make me right. Nobody knows if they're right, and the only way to know is to die, and you can't really report on your findings. Everybody is insecure about what happens after they die, and because they're insecure about what happens after they die, they seek comfort in people who offer an explanation. But I think that's a complex idea to give to a child. So I have to allow her this space to come to her own conclusions if I'm being loving and considerate, I think.
I have two questions on that. First, I feel like I definitely did, that my expectations for what everybody I knew around me believed, and then what I ended up figuring out that I believed to be so different. Do you feel like that the difference in expectations and what you found to be reality to be damaging for you, personally?
I do believe it is damaging for me. I believe that a part of being an adult is kind of like being a broken person and trying to pick up the pieces. I think that we in our adulthood are just looking at all the ways in which we are damaged and trying to correct it, or trying to not break the people that come after us, and regardless of like the field, whether it's like at work or with our children or nieces, nephews, just people younger than us, people we talk to, people we influence. I think we are all trying to like break them less than we believe that we are broken. And I believe that there are things that I experienced and encountered that caused me to have a warped worldview, and I had to spend so much time unlearning things that I wish that I had not learned. But I also believe that they gave me a unique perspective and sense of empathy that I might not otherwise have had I not had those experiences. So, for me, I find it important to pass on that sense of empathy and thoughtfulness without passing on the sense of fear and shame that come along with being religious.
And being watched all the time.
Being watched all the time. Like scary ass Big Santa. You feel me?
First Testament God was definitely real scary.
Yeah, dude.
Second Testament ain't...
First Testament, like Old Testament is Krampus.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a hell. But there wasn't a hell, though, really. That was kind of invented in the Second Testament.
Was it?
It was like there's a limbo. There wasn't really a hell until Jesus was saved.
Wasn't that thing everybody who was before Jesus went to this purgatory, and then Jesus had to like go and save them or something, pull them out?
Yeah, they had to go do Bible trivia until they got enough points.
So even then, not everybody believes in purgatory. Like, even Catholics got rid of the idea of purgatory relatively recently.
Interesting.
I want to say, like, within the last decade, they said, like, hey, no more purgatory.
There was never purgatory, or, like...
They're saying that it's not a thing anymore.
Because Jewish people...
I don't know if they, like, retconned it. You know
well, it might have been... Okay, it's been about 2 years. It might be like, it's been 2,000 years, so... They're all out. Statistically, we've got reports that the last person in purgatory has now exited the internment camp or whatever whatever they have it. Okay. So my next question. I'm sorry.
Holy shit. That's dark.
Go ahead.
Jewish people don't believe in hell. I
know, but they believe in purgatory. That's what I'm saying.
They believe in purgatory, but not hell.
I think so. There's no hell because it's like. I think that's why they're there, because they kind of go to this other place before the Son of God comes. I don't know. I'm not really sure exactly where they leave it, because it's just a Torah at first. It's not even the full Old Testament. My other question is, like, how do you deal with your parents or your wife's parents, and, like, do you set, like, hey, do you ever talk to them, like, hey, we're not going to flood our daughter with this hell BS, and if you're scared for this, let's be open. You can talk. I mean, do you regulate? Do you feel the need to regulate what your parents or what your wife's parents?
I don't. I just, like, I know that, like, after they might tell her some shit or take her to church, she's coming back to me, and if she asks me about it, I can have a conversation with her. I do believe that there is value in her having a plethora of experiences. So, if my in-laws are Catholic and they take her to Catholic Mass, I'm not going to be like, that's all bullshit after she comes back from Mass. If she takes something from it, bet, I'll take you to Mass if that's what you want. If she goes to, like, a Kingdom Hall with my mother, I'm not going to be like, yo, that's all bullshit. Because that's just what I think. I don't think it is fair of me to take that away from her if it's something that she feels a connection to. I think that we as human beings are constantly going through our lives seeking comfort. Who am I to deny somebody comfort? So, even if I don't like it and her sense of comfort makes me uncomfortable, I think that as her father, I have to eat that. It's not about me. It's not about how I feel. It's not about my level of comfort. If you take something from this that you think makes you better, that's a bet. If you start wilding and being a dick, I'm going to tell you that I think you're being a dick, because I think that is the loving thing to do. But I'm not going to take it away from you just because I don't want to play with the toys. Have your toys. I don't want to play with the toys, but that's me. It doesn't have to be you, is my opinion on, like, religion and politics when it comes to anyone I have influence over.
Yeah, I think it's good that the nucleus of the family doesn't really proselytize one way or the other. Or, like, if you choose not to, just not say anything. I think that says a lot. Whereas I think even whenever everybody was kind of playing around with, like, oh, there's Santa, you know, it was, as soon as I started learning, like, wait, Santa didn't exist? What else doesn't exist that these old folks acting like they tell me? My dad tells, you know, like, so I think the fact that you don't say anything, it means he's like, He's not. It's not that he doesn't believe it. He's just not in on this stuff. So maybe she feels like she could ask you, like, so what do you really think about this guy, Daddy? Or this like this sort of like like the whatever concepts of what whatever, you know what I mean?
No, I agree with that.
Has she asked you about religion at all, or about?
So far, no. She didn't ask me about Santa. I asked her about Santa, and she said, I don't want to talk about it. And then it seems like she took a minute to think about it, and then came back. She said, I don't like Santa. I think he's scary. I like the little one, but I don't like the big one.
Which little one? Is there
my in-laws have a small dancing Santa, and you press a button, and he like kind of shakes his hips to Jingle Bell Rock. So she calls him Baby Santa. And she likes him.
Sweet Baby Santa.
Sweet Baby Santa. She likes him, but the idea of Big Santa, who is always watching her, she doesn't like that. And I couldn't help but be like, I feel you, bro.
Yeah, I
that
don't
shit's
like
weird.
I don't like KGB Santa either.
I mean, yeah. That shit is weird, bro. And, like, it seems like she took the time to think about it. So, like, what am I supposed to tell her at this point? Am I supposed to be like, oh, man, Santa's not going to bring you anything? No, man. I told her, she said, am I still going to get presents? I said, yeah, man. Me, your mom, like, your grandparents, we're all going to get you stuff. Like, you don't have to believe in Santa to get stuff, but if you do believe in Santa, then Santa will bring you stuff. And it's fine either way. Like, either way you get presents, bro. And then she was like, oh, okay. All right. And seemed fine with it. Mm-hmm. So, like, ultimately, her goal is, like, I'm trying to get these presents, bro. What's happening with that? Does she need the idea of Santa Claus?
Well, I
don't think so. But I also don't want to be like the dick who sends my kid to school and the kid is telling everybody Santa Claus is bullshit. Then I'm that parent. And then everybody's parents is like, what the fuck, bro? Which is a thing.
I remember that kid. I remember that kid specifically. It was... Also, I feel like that kid is like, if you're going to tell your kid that, be like, don't say these around anybody else, you asshole.
Yeah.
That's interesting. No, I think it's like, let your kids develop. I've been reading about sacred beliefs and how, as people set them up, humans naturally they set up these sacred beliefs that basically use a different part of the brain when they're challenged and reasoned. They'll actually drop their ability to care about other facts, and it brings up the rule, like the idea of like specific rules. So I think that if you're seen as somebody that's either affirmed these sacred beliefs or denied them, then it can put you in a position where you're not really trusted to talk about it. Or if you say anything immediately, they think, oh, I'm gonna shut my brain off. This is that anti-Santa propaganda, or whatever. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
You don't, so like I can see exactly why you'd want to be that, because if you don't challenge, like just as we're seeing with some of this political stuff, if you can't just let somebody say something or do something raggedy, but if you're known as the party or the person that's like, you're just stupid, these religious, okay, that's backwards, like,
you're not helping anybody.
Yeah. It's not really gonna, it's like you're just talking to the, your group, but if essentially if they've already identified with their reference group or their people, it's just gonna put you as an outsider, somebody they don't trust in a lot of things.
Yeah. I also think that, like, we spend so much of our time, like, factioning ourselves off.
Yeah.
And I don't want to create factions within my home.
Yeah.
I don't want my daughter to feel like I think she's stupid. I don't want my daughter to feel like I value her opinion less than I might value someone else's. I want her to feel as though she has the space to express herself and to experiment. I want her to seek bliss. And if her bliss is different from my bliss, that doesn't make her wrong. And it's just kind of like, in order for me to be a good father, I have to be less egotistical. the more egotistical that I am, the more I think that I am, like, correct, the worse of a father I would be. So, if I want to be a good father, I have to recognize that my ego is not the most important thing in any particular conversation. My ideas are not more valid than hers. My thoughts are not more valid than hers or anyone else's. And I think that there's a lot of importance in getting over yourself. And I think that's probably like the biggest thing that I've learned about like being somebody's parent is get over yourself, bro. Your shit's not that fire. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you do feel like, even if it is fire, you know, nobody's ever as fire or not as fire as they think, I suppose. I suppose, I mean, maybe it's not that the idea, the rationalist idea of God is like the clockmaker. You know, you set it and go. So at a certain point, you're kind of like, here's my kid and here's my paper airplane. I'm just gonna let it go, and they now have a way. They're gonna do what they want to. That bird's gonna fly its own way. You can't. And the more you try to like get around it, blow it, keep it up, and do that you might make it crash. Facts. You know, even if you were right, and maybe your views, you know, are important for your day and age. But the world of tomorrow, these guys are gonna have to do something crazy to make that exist. Almost. Yeah. You know, like they're gonna have to. You know, and I don't have the answer. You know what I mean? I don't think any of us do.
None of us.
Exactly what the world tomorrow, if it exists, what it's gonna need.
Yeah.
It's a noble way to parenting, honestly. I think that's really good. I think I had a friend who was Mormon in high school, and he was like, his parents were like strict Mormon. He grew up to be like the craziest kid I ever knew, and just like had a whole string of drug problems, specifically because I thought he was like told not to and like raised this way where he like, you know, and then once
restrictive.
Restrictive, yes.
If you can't play cards, not gamble, like literally touch a deck of cards or do some of these things, like
is that a belief of Mormons?
Yeah, and there's like a handful of things like that. Like I think you can't
touch caffeine or sugar. I think.
Yeah, no, nothing addictive whatsoever. No dresses that are above the.
They have magic underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah, all kinds. There's just stuff that's very that is very regressive and restrict, or like it's a old world interpretation. I think it's a lot of people will do about Christianity and various things is take an old thing and put it to now, as opposed to taking what people are saying at this moment and putting on the future, taking what's good about it. So I mean, I think that's what you're getting with ego too. Is it's like it's not just who you are and who you are as a person, your legacy and what your daughter does and all these things. And I want her to be an awesome lyricist and she better be the best, the best MC ever. You know.
Though she is mine, I do not possess her.
Yeah. And the more you do, the less she's going to...
Check this out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Though she is mine, I do not possess her. She is not my possession. She came from me, but she is not me. She is not mine.
Yeah.
I don't own her. All I can do, if I'm being a good parent, is teach her everything that I can. Teach her to have a sense of reasoning. Teach her to treat people with respect. Teach her to be considerate of others. And teach her to be self-reliant. If I do those things, I have done my job. I don't think anywhere in there is there a need for me to pass on my beliefs and thoughts. I would rather teach her how to think than teach her what I think. And if I teach her what I think, then I believe that I am handicapping her. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm. I read somewhere that your view of God is how you view your father, your parents.
I mean, Mother Nature, Father Church or some shit is the phrase. Something like that.
Also, I think a lot of people will... a lot of my politics come from things that I'm angry about, what backwards things people in my family, specifically my dad, believed. You know, like, I feel for a time... There's a point in the Chicago 5
Yeah.
Where
Seven?
Seals is talking to
Chicago
seven. I'm sorry, it's the Central Park part. Chicago 7. My bad. In the Chicago 7, that Seals talks to Abby Kaufman, the other guy, and he's like, or no, actually, sorry, it was the I forget which guy it was, but anyway.
Bobby Seale.
Yeah, Bobby Seals talks to one of the young, weather. I forget, it was the guy from the Weatherman or whatever. He's like, now you realize this is my life, whereas you just match your dad. And he's like, he basically said something like that. And then they're talking about politics. His politics came from just like his condition, whereas the other guy was just that he was mad at his daddy for being this or that. They're kind of like, yeah. And I kind of I can relate to that to a certain degree too. You know.
I hear you.
But
I think that can be said about most people. I think that every generation is kind of like a punch in the arm. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that your job is to give the next generation a softer punch than you got. So if you just think about like a line of people, everybody's like punching to the right. And you might have gotten the shit punched out of you. That doesn't mean you should go punch the shit out of the next person.
Yeah.
And so I think that you gotta punch him. You gotta hit him. Everybody's gonna get punched.
Yeah.
But what kind of punch is it? And so, like, I think we all have this thing where we're like, oh man, I wish I hadn't fucking gone through that. I wish I hadn't experienced this shit. I wish I didn't fucking learn this shit. Man, I wish I had gotten the opportunity to such and such, so on and so forth. I think everybody is experiencing that constantly. And I think that we as adults kind of go through this, at least a period of time where we like while out and do all the things that we were not allowed to do. And then once you get over that, hopefully you do get over that. Hopefully you do get over that. You're left to like reassess and like look around you, and it's like the beach of Normandy at the beginning of Saving Private Ryan. Everything's kind of quiet. You're looking around for your arm. And do you find your arm? Do you look around? Do you see like a bunch of people that are like pulling their guts into themselves? Are you alive? How badly damaged are you in that period where you attempted to prove a point? And after that, what do you do with that information? Do you run for cover? Do you make a plan? Or are you just wilding out because you're like, that guy is digging for his guts. That guy is looking for his arm. Everything is terrible. I'm just going to shoot. One thing is effective. One thing is productive. The other thing is not. And I think that the difficult thing to do in life is to find ways of being productive after you've acknowledged the wounds that you've sustained throughout your time on Earth. And if you are able to acknowledge those wounds and go and do something else, then you're doing the right thing, in my opinion. We're all wounded. Some of us have larger wounds than others, but everybody is wounded. There's nobody who is not wounded. And the best thing that you can do for the advancement of yourself and for the advancement of society, get out of a position where you're still being shot at, dress those wounds, and plot on your next move. Consider what you can do to help the people that are coming behind you. If you're not doing that, then I think that you are not worthless, but worth less. I think.
So you have a new EP coming out called Montoya Volume 1.
Yeah.
That's it sounds like it's after a person that went through life and got wounded. And it just tell us a little bit about that. Give us a description.
So one thing I used to do when I was releasing music is I was just trying to show that, like, yeah, bro, I can, like, rap really well. And then it was like, hey, bro, I can, like, actually make really good songs. And then it was like, hey, man, I can come up with really cool concepts. And then it was like, hey, man, I could do all of those things plus pick good production and, like, make really good projects. And that's basically, like, a description of my first 4 things. After that, I felt as though I was not displaying the type of art that I wanted to. So I thought that the way that I could best show people the type of art that I wanted to make and the thing that I liked doing the most would be to express myself through the lens of several different characters. So I did a name change, and I changed my name to ... You spell it 6 times, you say it 3 times. 3 of them are capitalized, 3 of them are lowercase. And the reason why I did that was it would allow me to constantly create characters and occasionally kill off characters that all have the dot in their name. Some of them are silent, some of them you say. This particular character is Indigo Montoya. NDGO lowercase dot Montoya. So you do not say the dot. Indigo Montoya. I got the name from the movie The Princess Bride, which I think is a perfect movie. Inigo Montoya in that movie was a swordsman who was traveling seeking vengeance, but he was also a drunk. He was a broken person seeking completion through vengeance. So that, another part was Gene from Samurai Champloo, which is a show that I love. He was like a samurai who grew up in the very traditional sense of being a samurai and traditional sense of like training as a swordsman. But through circumstances that he encountered, he was forced to kill his master and become a Ronin. A Ronin is like a samurai who has no master, and a samurai in themselves is someone who serves like a lord. So he was like a samurai without a lord. It's like a kite without a string. So the character Indigo Montoya is a samurai who once served several lords, later did not, became a Ronin, but for some reason was murdered. And he wakes up in limbo with his eyes dug out of his face and a fragmented memory. So he doesn't remember how he died, and it's basically wandering limbo searching for answers while being hunted by a series of demons, which I got from Berserk, which is an excellent manga and anime that everybody who's into manga and anime should read and or watch. So that's the character. and this was I basically designed the project to be like a pilot episode of like an anime or like a first book in a series of comics. It's like volume 1, part 1, episode 1. Yeah, that's what it is.
Let's see. So we're who'd you get? Who's on the record with you?
Production comes from my bro Genius Christ, very talented guy. I got Beautiful Lou, also an incredibly talented producer. My bro Zach Light. I got Pool Boy Blue and Mark Set Go. Those are the 5 producers on 5 songs. Only features are on the same song, and they are the Tita. Shout out to Tita. And Mr. Motherfucking Esquire. Shout out to Mr. Motherfucking Esquire. They're the only features, and they're on a track called Ambrosia, produced by Zach Light.
So where can we find this?
It'll be on all of the digital service providers beginning December 10th. Hopefully, like United Masters is giving me a shitload of shit about the artwork. Blah blah.
What is it
stuff.
under? Is it going to be under dot?
All things are under ... Spell it 6 times. Say it 3 times. But it'll be on all of the digital service providers December 10th. Assuming that everything goes right. But yeah, it'll be everywhere, and it'll also be on my Bandcamp for purchase if you want to give your money directly to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
Next, I'm working on a sequel to From Russia with Drugs with Black Da Vinci. That'll be very dope. I'm working on a project called Blinson Bond Me, introducing a new character named DotdotDotdotDot, who is a chef in a not too distant future, kind of traveling the galaxy, hunting bounties and doing catering gigs. And that's with Boots, the Blessed. That's my bro. Shout out to Boots. He put out an album called Embers Burning in the Witching Hour. He just recently released vinyl for. I have a download code. It's ... We'll put that in the description. I'm also working on a project with my bro J Carr. It's kind of like a spiritual successor to Chamillionaire and Paul Wall's mixtape, Get Your Mind Correct. It's going to be called Corrected. And one more. I'm doing a project with Pool Boy Blue. And 2 more. I'm doing a project with Pool Boy Blue. Doesn't have a title yet. I'm doing a project with Beautiful Lou that also doesn't have a title yet. But those are hopefully going to be throughout 2022. Also, I'm working on a cooking show.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you actually search this, though? I can't seem to find, when I search Bandcamp ... Is there spaces? Like, honestly, as somebody's like mixed a handful of your records, I literally can't find you on the internet. I don't know how to.
I understand. So
shout out, I mixed Montoya, by the way.
Yeah, bro.
Okay, anyway.
Shout out Seize the Means Productions, the label. That's where like the music is coming out through. But so like my name used to be D Ellis, the dot silent, but you do spell it. So it's DDOTELLES. So my Bandcamp is under that. Also SoundCloud for the old projects. All of the new things are ... spell it 6 times, say it 3 times. And those are separate.
With spaces or not spaces?
No spaces.
All right.
All
cool.
together.
So it will be up under ...
Yes.
I got you.
Yes.
Cool.
And I will also consolidate those just to like make it easier.
We'll put it on a link with this just to make sure it's clear.
Word. For sure. Also, working on Julius Erving podcast, which is like the best thing for pop culture, sports, and opinions through a diverse cast of people. And that's just like conversations with the homies about like things that are happening in
and where's that?
Weekly sense. That's on YouTube. If you go to the Seize the Means YouTube page, you'll find all of the links for it. And it'll also be on like all podcast providers for audio sources by 2022.
Yeah. Any final words? Anything you want to bless the people with? Anything you want to say in conclusion?
Yeah. I think that the most important thing in life is empathy. If everybody took the time to display more empathy towards their fellow human beings, then the world would be a better place. I think so often we get caught up in the idea that there is a limited amount of resources and care that we can give toward others. And even if there is a limited amount of resources, I don't believe that there's anything that will negatively impact somebody living their life if they were to display more empathy towards the next person. I believe that it is an important thing for each one of us to be thoughtful of one another. And so my closing thought would be to be more thoughtful whenever you can, and in every opportunity that you have to interact with somebody else, seek the thoughtful solution to problems. And that's it. Go listen to ... spell it 6 times, say it 3 times. Elles is the ... silent, but you do spell it. That's the old shit. Seize the Means, Julius Erving, all that.
Anybody else you want to shout out to? Or like any other projects you know about that from another artist? Any other?
Shout out Pool Boy Blue. Shout out
Always.
Tita. Shout out
any of their stuff.
Bowl. Shout out Mr. Motherfucking Esquire. Shout out Black Da Vinci. Shout out Bambi, KVRX. I don't know, man. If I didn't say it's because I don't love you, it's just because I didn't think of it in the moment, and I apologize. Everybody that's ever done work with me, Cease. 3 Zones. I had a litany of people. Mm-hmm. I love you all, and thank you for working with me.
Cool.
That's it?
Sure. Do you want to do a tag or wait? Anything you want to say? Just final closing, or is that it?
Satan.
All right.
Feels it.